Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton,
And I'm Bob Scarborough.
and we are
The
the FAIRtax Guys. All right.
and I can't bring. I mean, it's kind of anticlimactic because I have my scrolling banner over here, but
Oh, let's see your disappearing act again.
of technology. And ladies and gentlemen, he can appear and disappear just as easily as that. It would be great if you could have one of these and you could be invisible for a while. That would be really exciting. You just open it up wherever you might happen to be, and nobody gets it. For those who are listening on radio, the background that we're using on the video today has certain properties that don't like
it's a virtual background that picks up the person, but it will not pick up anything that person is holding. And so I can do the same thing with my cube. As long as I hold it in front of me like this, then people can see it. But if I move it over here, it disappears. So that's just the nature. I don't know if we need to be talking about technical stuff here on the show, but that's
people might think they've tuned into the wrong channel all of a sudden. No, this is the FAIRtax Guys, and yes, we are talking about a tax on consumption versus a tax on income, and that is what the FAIRtax does.
I got a cool story here I got to tell you. We remember talking about how you could go to the FAIRtax store and you can get those scrolling banners, you can get the palm cards, you can get the prebate cards. A lady I go to church with has a FAIRtax bumper sticker on her car. You can get those from the FAIRtaxstore.org. And in her job, she has the occasionally to interact with the sheriff in this county here in Florida. And
speeding
ticket. What was that?
I said when she's getting a speeding ticket, when she has to interact with the sheriff.
No. This is part of her. I'm not going to get into her personal business here, but as for her work, she sometimes interacts with the sheriff, and the sheriff saw the FAIRtax sticker on her car, made a positive comment about it, and I found out through this lady that the sheriff here in Marion County, Florida, watches FAIRtax Power Radio. So shout out to the sheriff. Thank you for doing that.
Great work. Yeah, great work. Keep up the good work. And remember, Bob only goes like 2 miles an hour under the speed limit wherever he drives down there. So if you hand out tickets through the sheriff's department, you don't have to worry about him.
No, you're not going to get me, because I will usually go under the speed limit, because my daughter says you drive like an old man, and I correct her. No, I don't. I drive like an old man who's trying to save fuel. So, I very rarely go over the speed limit because I'm trying to milk as much mileage out of my car as I can.
Absolutely.
Which has absolutely nothing to do with the FAIRtax. Let's get back on subject here.
We've wasted a whole 5 or 6 minutes on other topics, but the FAIRtax. But let me tell you, okay, here's the lead in now. Okay, so if, for example, the FAIRtax was the law of the land, we could have conversations like this every day and not have to worry about keeping a shoebox full of receipts, or where is my 401k? Where's my K1? Where's my 1099? NEC? Where are all these documents? Where's publication 17? We could have fun conversations like the first 5 minutes. And now I'll turn it back over to you, because it is time for Gov.
Yeah, the answer to that question is they're on the scrap heap of history when we pass the FAIRtax. But yes, let's get back into to Congress.gov and see what the Congress critters are doing to the tax code this week. And again, I'll try to go through this relatively expeditiously so we don't kill off too much time. But at the top of the list today is S1627. Now, figure this one out. A bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to create a tax credit for nurse preceptors, Preceptors. Nurse preceptors are going to get a tax credit under S1627. That's Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona's bill. Now, do you have any clue what a nurse preceptor is?
I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
A magic wand right here.
You look stuff up in a heartbeat, don't you?
Yeah. We'll do it this way. Nurse preceptors.
You want me to save you the trouble? I did look it up. I did look this one up.
Really? Oh, well, good. Go right ahead then.
It's basically a mentor or someone who helps a new nurse, learn the ropes of the business. It's like if somebody just came into your radio station and wanted to be a DJ and had never done it before, you kind of take him under your wing and show him the ropes, show him how everything works. So a nurse preceptor is someone who facilitates a new nurse, becoming productive in the business.
Oh,
And so they're good folks. That's it. But they get a tax credit. But if that Senate bill passes, people who help rookie police officers, people who help rookie pilots, people who help rookie truck drivers, they don't get one. So again, the tax code is picking winners and losers. We need to get rid of it, even though nurse preceptors are certainly, worthy of maybe. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say everybody should have a fair shake at that. I mean, at getting some sort of benefit, and the way you have everybody get a benefit is to level the playing field and put the fair tax into action, activate the fair tax.
Now, again, nurse preceptors are certainly worthy and important people, but they aren't the only worthy and important people in society. And it would just be nice that the tax code treated everybody the same way, and folks didn't get a particular carve out based on what they do for a living. That's one of the things that happens when we get the fair tax. Now, here's another good one. Dig this one. This is S1625. This is from a lady you may have heard of. Her name's Dianne Feinstein from California.
Yes.
This is a bill to. I thought she was sick, but anyway, was introduced.
Some health issue. Get well soon, Senator Feinstein.
Yes, we wish you well here on that front. But this is her bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide for an election to expense certain qualified sound recording costs otherwise chargeable to capital account. Now, what's that doing in the tax code?
It's got something to do with, is it audio recording that they're talking about? Sound recording?
Again, there's no text in there. I'm just reading the description. It says to provide an election to expense. I assume that means write off or, have something good against your taxes go to expense certain qualified sound recording costs. Now, in your business, you do a lot of sound recording. You think you can get a break here?
I don't know. I don't have time to go through all of these like this. I can certainly tell you that it would be great if I could get that break. I'm sitting around, slogging along every day, breaking rocks here. That has and the microphone is on, the on-air lights on here while we're recording. So I would think we should all be able to benefit from that somehow. I got to go to publication 17 and find out which form I need to fill out to take care of that credit. Yeah.
Oh, well, anyway, let's see if that goes. Let's move right along. This one, I believe I'm going to put in the Hall of Shame. Why is this in the tax code? HR 3352 to amend the Internal Revenue Code to get this, I kid you not, to treat diapers as qualified medical expenses and to prohibit states and local governments from imposing a tax on the retail sale of diapers. Is that one go in the Hall of Shame or not?
Right. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 or you'll have to fill out Form 72-5R4.
Yes. Go directly to the HOS. Do not pass go, whatever. Okay. But that's it. Diapers are medical expenses. And I remember a couple of weeks ago we were going through this, and something else was supposed to be medical expenses, and I don't remember what that was. But how cool is that? That is let's call out Representative Bonnie Watson Colvin from New Jersey for that little gem that's going to go in the Hall of Shame. But diapers are medical expenses now. Now, it didn't say whether they were, for adults or babies. I guess because there's no text in here, I can't tell which is which. But that's what that says. Okay, one more. HR 3351 to amend the Internal Revenue Code to include, get this, expenses for certain non-athletic supplies in the above the line deduction for eligible educators, and to allow such deduction to interscholastic sports administrators and coaches.
And for other purposes.
No, doesn't say for other purposes, but you unwind that one if you can.
That would have been a good one where I know their purposes would have come in handy for sure. And that's just amazing. And for to be that complex, I mean, I would think that somebody would say, okay, I've got this industry, I've got this business, and here's the premise. I'm doing all these things, and I need to have some sort of relief when I do things a certain way. And then you got a guy that's going to come up with, the lobbyist is going to come up with what that would be, how that would be put together. And then they go to Congressman Joe Smith or wherever and say, hey, we need this in the tax code. And they probably already have it already written up for Representative Smith. And all he's got to do is copy and paste it into the, into congress.gov on his side. And there it shows, and all of a sudden it shows up. But do you think there's a lot of that goes on where the verbiage is already written by or composed at some level by the lobbyists who are bringing it to the congressman's attention?
My guess is, yeah, that probably does happen. So we'll see. But how about we have a system where there are no deductions, be they above the line or below the line or whatever, where there are no deductions, there are no exemptions, there are no exceptions, there are no loopholes. Everybody is treated the same way. You pay your taxes at the cash register when you buy things, and it's that simple and it's that fair. Anybody think that's a good idea? I'll raise my hand on that one.
Trying to figure out which hand you'll see first. Yeah, yeah, I do. If I turn it this way, it'll
just don't hit the edge of your box or it goes away. Again, more stuff with our virtual background here.
For those of you on radio, we're fooling around with this virtual background, and it would be worth it to go to our social media page to watch the antics of this particular episode that have absolutely nothing to do with the fair tax, other than if the fair tax was passed, this would be all we would be doing on the show all day, is seeing where the borders are in our cutouts for this virtual background.
Yes. Well, if the fair tax were passed, we would no longer have to do Fair Tax Power Radio. We would have accomplished our purpose, and then I could completely retire and go to Alaska all the time.
Yes, and ride the trains.
Yes, well, we're going to ride the cruise ship this time. So we did the train last year. So next year, something I really do want to do, and I may have to make another trip up there. I would like to ride with some of those Alaskan bush pilots.
Oh,
I mean, what they can do, and they got specially modified aircraft out there that can land. But this guy can land his fixed wing aircraft in a space that's almost the same size, just slightly bigger than what a helicopter would need. I mean, they can come right in, hang it on the prop, and just drop it on the ground and stop in 100 feet maybe.
Like a Harrier jet.
Yeah, like a Harrier. They can land on a sandbar. They can. How are we getting off all this?
Hey, let me tell you something. We have a great second segment on the program today, folks, and we're getting right to it right now.
Yes, let's dig in right to it. Now, we have always said that the fair tax is a nonpartisan issue, and it is. I mean, you do not have to subscribe to a particular political ideology. You do not have to belong to a certain party to appreciate getting more money in your paycheck, getting a tax refund every month, never having to file tax returns again, your personal finances or your business. That is not political in nature. Everyone should appreciate the benefits that the fair tax will bring to people, especially if you're a small business owner, and you're not in the retail business. You have no business taxes at all. The fair tax does not tax business to business transactions. It's retail entirely. So, you don't have to be liberal or conservative, Democrat, Republican, whatnot, or what have you, to appreciate the benefits of the fair tax. But for some reason, and we're trying not to be too awfully political here, but we will call them by name, the Democratic Party, for whatever reason, is providing quite a good bit of resistance to the fair tax. And it's crazy, because people who are in sympathy with the what the Democratic ideology says it is, should love the fair tax.
Right.
So let's explain to those folks why they should look and why they should support the fair tax. There are like about 10 reasons. And we got a little under 13 minutes to go. Maybe we can get to all of them. Let's go. Hit the first one.
Okay. First one on the list, 10 reasons why Democrats strongly support the fair tax. The fair tax meets the entire Democratic tax agenda, starting with progressivity. The fair tax is far more progressive than the current income tax. Under the fair tax, low-income households experience 5 times the benefit increase as compared to high-income households. I'll say that again. Under the fair tax, low-income households experience 5 times the benefit increase as compared to high-income households. And a switch to the fair tax causes real wages to rise.
Okay, that's from a study, Jokic Sabine and Lawrence Kothikoff, stimulating the dynamic macroeconomic and microeconomic effects of the fair tax. That was research back in 2006, but the principle is still the same. And let me mention real quick what we're looking at is an article that is available on the FAIRtax.org website. Again, they put the research tab back, and this is under the demographic heading under the research, and it's if you want to go through the whole thing, that's where it is. It's on fairtax.org.
Yeah, there are several under the demographics tab under research. There are several, 4 actually, that talk about why the fair tax is good for different people. The fair tax benefits seniors, good for younger people and low income families, et cetera, that we've been talking about before on the show. This particular one is entitled Top 10 Reasons Why Democrats Should Strongly Support the Fair Tax. And
I say one thing you just hit on that last point is about the progressivity versus regressivity. Again, one of the dishonest things you're going to hear from people who have a vested interest in maintaining the income tax is, oh, wait a minute, the fair tax is going to fall heavier on the lower and middle income folks than the income tax does. We've got to retain the income tax system so we can keep socking it to the rich. And then at the same folks, they'll say the rich aren't paying their fair share. So which is it? So
we try to stay right in the middle, and nonpartisan is this is about as nonpartisan an effort as you will find. Unfortunately, in the politically charged climate we find ourselves in today, supported by the media punching one side or the other. And if you had the media, for example, behind the fair tax, there would be a completely different view of it. And I think you would have people demanding it even more. As it is, we have to scrape and claw with people like us on radio and television and on the social media to talk about this on a regular basis. And so, folks, if you're out there and you happen to be listening to or watching the program here, pass the word along as we go along. But go ahead and delve into reason number 2 there, Bob.
It is if you want to talk about a highly regressive tax that the Democrats should be against, or actually anybody should be against, because regressive taxes are not a good thing. They hit the people disproportionately. Those who can least afford to pay them get hit the hardest. That's the definition of a regressive tax. The most, or one of, if not the most regressive taxes on the books, are the federal payroll taxes that support Social Security and Medicare. I mean, there are no exemptions. The same percentage is applied to somebody making $50,000 a year as is applied to someone making $500,000 a year. And if you take the same percentage from each of those persons, you're hitting the lower one a lot harder than you're doing the big one. And the fair tax eliminates the highly regressive taxes on the working poor and the middle class. It removes the single most regressive element. That's the payroll tax for wage earners. Now, currently, this thing says currently. Remember, this article is several years old, but as of the time this was written, it was imposed on the first $118,500. I think that's up to like close to $150,000 now. But once you exceed that cap, then it basically goes away. So these payroll taxes are specifically designed to hit the first dollars that people earn. And if I'm earning $5 million, you can hit the first few I earn, and it's not a big deal because I've got a bunch more after that I could live on without a problem. But if I'm making a salary that is under the cap, then every dollar I earn, every single one of them is subject to this percentage, 7.5%, I think, 7.65%, I think it comes up to be.
Times two.
That I'm going to lose that much of every single dollar I earn. And that is not good for lower income folks. And the Democratic Party, which again has traditionally painted itself as the friend of the little guy, should be 100% behind the effort to get rid of those regressive taxes. Everybody hates taxes, but the payroll tax has got to be the worst. That's Robert Reich, who is certainly a pretty left of center Democrat, was the U.S. Secretary of Labor at one point. And he was saying, again, everybody hates taxes. The payroll tax has got to be the worst. 4 out of 5 American workers pay more in payroll taxes than they do in income taxes. The payroll tax is regressive as hell. Poorer workers pay proportionately more than richer ones, end of quote. Again, that coming from Robert Reich. And it's true. If you are a champion for the little guy who is barely making enough to get by, you should support getting rid of those payroll taxes that are hitting those guys really, really hard.
Absolutely. And it's just insane that I'm trying to figure out what the greater benefit of holding on to the income tax is for our elected officials. What is the greater benefit than even the first two items that we talked about here? What is greater than those two things to keep the income tax versus doing something like what we're talking about, tax on consumption, the fair tax? Let me move on.
How about we have a system where the poor pay nothing, zero?
You brought me to reason number three, that the Democrats should strongly support the fair tax. The fair tax is the only plan that completely untaxes the poor. Completely untaxes the poor. Even a person with a 0% income tax rate today must pay payroll taxes on that the first dollar that they earn, and also pay federal taxes hidden in the prices of everything that they buy. And the fair tax repeals the hidden taxes, eliminates the payroll tax, and holds all taxpayers harmless against any taxes on essentials such as food, clothing, and shelter. So the untaxed part is what we call the prebate. And every year, the federal government issues the rate of the level of poverty. What is that number? It's $15,000. It's $12,500. So the prebate gets calculated against that and how many people you have in your family, and all of a sudden you're getting that check in the mail. Now here's where you'll hear some people say, "Well, that's just an entitlement from the government." No, that's your tax dollars coming to you in advance, things that you've paid in already. But the young folks that are listening need to understand you're just starting out, getting a family going. The working poor that are out there that are listening, folks that have a hard time between two jobs trying to make ends meet and still be with their families in the evening time. This program, the fair tax, will pay, the rebate will pay up to the poverty level to everybody. But who is that going to benefit the most? It's going to benefit the working poor, just as we said.
Absolutely. If you're spending at the poverty level, your out-of-pocket rate is zero because everything you pay at the cash register is reimbursed to you. And that's something else that the dishonest folks that are attacking the fair tax will just kind of gloss over. Well, this contains a provision that's supposed to untax people, but then they never do explain how the 23% rate actually becomes zero for people that are spending right at the poverty level. They gloss over that. That's crazy. Let's keep going. The fair tax stops the export of jobs. How many times have you seen a politician get up on the stump and just rail and scream and holler about, all these companies that are going overseas, we're going to sock it to them. We're going, it's unpatriotic, it's un-American, it's wrong for them to be doing that. But they just never seem to realize that the reason that companies are doing that is because other countries give these international corporations more favorable tax treatment. And I mean, it's just a pure and simple business decision. I can stay in this country and pay, 30% tax, or I can go to Ireland and pay 12% tax. Which am I going to do? Which would you do?
Well, the corporations that have shareholders that are expecting a particular dividend, they're going to keep an eye on, on all costs, and if it's more cost benefit to move overseas or to South America or somewhere outside of the United States, wherever the competitive rate is for taxing, then that's where they're going to go because the bottom line is, you're there to make a product or a service for the consumer, and your shareholders are the ones that absolutely want to make sure that they get a good return on their investment.
Okay, Mr. Business Owner, let me ask you a question. If you had a choice between locating in a country where the tax rate was 12% or where the tax rate was 0% for your corporate income, where would you go?
I would go to zero.
And guess what? The fair tax makes it zero.
That's right. And and that's the other thing. All of that money that's offshore, I think I heard somewhere, and it's probably more than that now, 12 or $13 trillion is sitting offshore in investment accounts that are helping them not evade, but avoid the income tax of the United States. Can you imagine a 0% rate and where all that money would end up going? It would come back to the United States and along with jobs, along with innovation, and along with creativity that will advance not only our companies, and the profitability there, but also the people that work for them, and the entire citizenry of our country would benefit from that type of a recurring income coming in. Businesses would bring not only their manufacturing back, they would also bring all the money that they have stored away in the more competitive tax rate country.
Okay, I just looked at the clock. We've only got time to one more of these things. Let me skip down. It says the fair tax is the only plan that targets and taxes existing wealth. If you've got millions of dollars set aside in a savings account and now you're going to spend that money, then the fair tax will tax you. If you have avoided paying taxes on that money when you made it and you spend that money tax-free. So again, this is Lawrence Kotlikoff, an economist of sorts. The case for the fair tax in the Wall Street Journal says the fair tax taxes existing wealth, not the fruits of labor. And so those are just we only got through half the article. So if you want to go to fairtax.org, open up the research tab, go under demographics, and read the rest of it, you can. But again, this should not be partisan. Everyone should want American jobs to exist and be good and pay good wages. Everyone should want to have to. Everyone should. Oh, wait a minute! I'm getting an alarm here. My timer just went off. But everyone should want to make their finances personal and not have to share it with the government. No one particularly likes making tax returns. Everybody likes having more money in their pocket with no withholding and no payroll taxes. So it just doesn't make sense that one particular side of the political spectrum doesn't like the fair tax when it is great for every person. So if you know some folks that are opposed to the fair tax simply as a knee-jerk political reaction, explain to them the realities of what all the good things the fair tax will do for them, and maybe we can start winning some of these over. All right?
So, yes, sir. Great idea.
Right. Indeed. Well, I'm afraid that's going to wrap up this edition of Fair Tax Power Radio. Out of time again. Thanks so much for watching, listening, and sharing. Until we meet again, we are the Fair Tax Guys. I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
Reminding you again, the fair tax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So what do you need from me to get these taxes collected?
Glad you asked, because there is a fair amount of information you need to be aware of.
That's your tax plan?
Oh, no, this is just the revisions for this year's tax plan. What I need from you is you need to keep track of all of your income, as well as any taxes that you've already paid, and also any gifts that you received or gifts you've given to churches or charities or individuals throughout the entire year. Do you do any side jobs?
Every now and again.
Great, because there's some more information about that right here. Everything you need to know right here. So just simply compile that, send it in to us. Be careful, make sure there's no mistakes. If we do find mistakes were made, we can fine you or, throw you in jail. So you might want to be aware of that.
And what do you need from me?
As an individual, nothing. As a business owner, or if you're doing side jobs, I mean, yes, you would have to collect taxes on that, but, well, it's all right here.